All right, welcome everybody to the next episode of the Week's End Tavern, where we're going over the WoW Classic and sometimes retail WoW news for that week of WoW, the reset week. This week we got plenty to talk about again, and as always, can I already say as always? I guess I can. We've done this once already, and as always, I'm your host, Sean, aka Subtle, and I'm joined by Hando, my co-host. How you doing, Hando?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me,
Hell
as
yeah.
usual.
As always, as always. Yeah, so first off, let's just talk about what we've been doing this week, and then we'll get into some news. So what have you been up to in WoW this week, Hando?
Same old thing. Same old thing for me. I've been playing Wrath of the Lich King mostly. I've been dabbling a little bit in the beta. I know some of my friends don't have it though, so I don't want to rub that too far in their face.
Damn, who could that be?
Yeah, I don't know.
Imagine not
Uh,
having the beta at this point. It seems like
yeah,
everybody has it.
yeah. I thought they were gonna send it to you as an April Fool's, but I guess that would be too far gone.
It
But
is
yeah, I've
too
been playing
late.
Wrath of the Lich King. My guild was very close to killing RS this week, thanks to a close friend of mine. Putting in the tank effort.
It's good to
Uh,
have friends to help you out.
that's right. But that's about it for me. I'm just I'm just ready to get through this news. I just figured I'd chat with you a little bit and see how that was going. But yeah, that's pretty
Oh
much
yeah,
it for me. I haven't been playing SoD, but I'm ready to see what the next phase has in store.
yeah. We'll be talking all about that. For me this week, I've basically just been doing Cata prep. That's about it. I just got my blood DK to 80 that I'm gonna be rating on 25 man in Cata. So that's kind of the big thing. It was actually kind of cool because I ended up doing like a budget gearing for this character, which I haven't really done before. Normally I just drop like 25k gold right when I hit 80, get as much like auction house bits as I can. But this one I didn't have much gold to spend, so I spent like 1,000 gold total, I think, on like enchants, BOEs, gems, all that. And then just got like full furious gear. I did like every winter grasp I could while I was leveling and got basically furious in every single slot, which was cool. So I hopped right into Gamos, easy peasy. But yeah, other
How
than
does that
that, I'm still just farming the Raptor mount. That's kind of the main thing.
how does that feel compared to some of the other characters that you've gone all out on?
Honestly, it feels pretty good. I don't have a ton of experience on DK, so maybe it would feel different on Pi, but like the DK, like I just literally bought everything from the PvP vendor, enchanted it, gemmed it, hopped into Gamma, and it's been smooth. I haven't had any issues, so maybe I was wasting my gold before, like buying all those BOEs, because it doesn't really seem necessary now.
Right.
But
It's all
yeah.
talent. It's all talent.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%, dude.
All talent.
100%. Yeah. All right. So let's just get into the news now then. So first off, we had some really great patch notes today. As you know, this is the month of April, the beginning of the month of April. No need to like number the day or anything, but this is the beginning of the month of April. We saw some really cool patch notes here. A lot of fun stuff coming next phase and season of Discovery. We got a new healing spec for Warrior, the Nurse Warrior, Disinfective Stance, Furious Sows, Cold Steel, Hot Blood Donation, Massacre, Rehabilitating Shout. This is pretty cool stuff. I mean, they've been changing all the rules in SOD, and We got healing mages, which nobody thought would ever happen, but it looks like we're getting healing warriors now too. Pretty excited about that. Are you gonna check out one of these healing warriors, these nurse warriors, Hando?
No, but I'm definitely all about that chillax paladin life. That lay on your hands. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah. You're talking about the light-headed paladin.
the light-headed paladin.
It is pretty intriguing. I played Pally a lot though, and like Nurse Warrior was always something I like really wanted to see added to the game. Like my least favorite part about Warrior was that like did damage and like tanked things. So like being able to heal as a warrior to me, that's like that's just peak wow. But yeah, so we got some really good April Fool's patch notes from Blizzard. They honestly, like throughout the years, they've been pretty good on April Fool's patch notes. I don't know that there's ever been a bad one. Seems like every year they got good stuff, but I think one of my favorites was the Plunder Storm, the sequel one. Coming very soon, we're releasing a completely non PvP sequel to Plunderstorm. This event has no PvP whatsoever, and it's super easy to pick up all the rewards, as they're just laying on the ground in the relative safety of the starting zones. Look for this relaxing in game activity on your calendar under the name Noble Garden. So
Just, just pick up some eggs and get some of those
that's
sweet
it. That's
loots.
it. Yeah. It
That's
basically
it.
Plunderstorm without any of the plunder or the storm.
No, there's
So.
definitely plunder. There's
There,
just no
there,
storm.
true. There's egg plunder to be had. Um,
All they have
yeah,
to do is add a storm, and that's it. That's basically the same thing.
that's it. All right. So another great job by Blizzard on April Fools. Cata Classic pre-patch now live. Operation Nomergon and Zalazane's Fall. We talked about that last week, so we won't talk about that too much today. But I think last week I said you could get tabard from this, so I gotta add a correction there. It's actually a cloak, not a tabard. But you do get a toy, which transforms you into a gnome or a troll, which is pretty great. It's a 4-hour cooldown, but these transforms last 30 minutes, which normally I feel like the transforms are like 10 minutes. So this is a good one to pick up. Limited time, so make sure you do it. Have you gotten both of yours yet, Anda?
I did get mine. I have not transmogged myself from a troll to a troll. However, I have not opened that can of worms yet. So I've never gone troll squared yet.
Troll
But I
Square is
do
where it's at.
believe, yeah, I do believe when you get it. I haven't checked on my alliance characters, but I do believe when you get the horde one, you also just get the alliance one. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for the toy, that is the case.
Yeah.
For the cloak, though, it looks like you have to do both.
Oh
So
well, maybe I have to do that just for my T-Mog set.
yeah, yeah, maximize that T-Mog.
Maximize it. The other part of the pre-patch is live too. There is now
Oh
we
yeah.
are doing the plunder storming in
Mm-hmm.
ICC. There is loot is flying everywhere.
Dude, it's crazy now. Like I'm collecting Shoutfrost shards on 3 different characters. I only want Shoutmorn on one character. And I've just because so many people have already made Shoutmorns, people are just running out people to give these shards to. So on 2 of my pallies that I had no intention of ever making a Shadowmorn on, I'm now collecting shards on just because I was the only option. So yeah, we're slowly racking them up. I think all my characters are gonna have Shadowfrost shards by the end of the expansion.
At least
Against my
one or
will.
two. At least one or two.
Yeah.
At least. Well, you get up to 17 now per raid. So what's that like
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks and you're basically done?
Yep.
It's
3 weeks and you can finish it. So now the other parts of the quest are more of the limiting factor. The souls specifically.
yeah, how are you gonna go about that with some of your characters?
Uh
Just gonna let it roll, and then once
I
it's
mean,
done, and then infuse up.
yeah, I may do a 10-man to like get it done, but I think I'm just gonna wait, whenever it's complete, it's complete.
Yeah, I mean, like we figured before, we've still got quite a bit of life left in Wrath of the Lich King. So, you have time. There probably isn't any reason to rush unless you were looking to do something specifically with that Shadow Morn or Shadow Morns, I should say, which I'm sure your paladins won't even wield
Oh
very
yeah.
often.
Dude, I can't even imagine like trying to get the souls on them because like at least with DK you can like tank while you're like in the souls, but like on the prop alley you kind of need the shield on. So, and I don't
You can
really
just
have any
be
desire to play ret, so it's like is just not happening for a long time.
the backup tank. You can just be the second tank. I know that's your favorite thing
Dude,
to
I
do.
think that might
Is
be illegal actually.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
if
so.
I can do that. All right. So yeah, pre-patch. I mean, so far it seems like a hit. And then like as I mentioned before, I'm leveling my new blood DK right now, or gearing it now. And I did like Forge of Souls last night and I got 4 defilers. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? Like I totally forgot like they doubled the amount of defilers you get. And man, gearing is like so easy now. So
Yeah, you can rack them up in some of those dungeons where you're doing like 5 or 6 bosses, like
oh dude,
Gundrak
yeah.
or Oculus and stuff like that. You just fly through those defilers, and you're just, oh, here I've got my full TOGC Abyss.
Yeah, I've just barely started on it. All right. So next up, we've got some news about servers, both for SoD and for Classic. So this week in SoD, they kind of just out of the blue, they locked Chaos Bolt North America, an RP PvP server on the smaller side. And they opened up free transfers to Crusader Strike. Initially, it was only to there, but then later they also allowed people to transfer to Lava Lash, an RP PvE server, which, from what I understand, Lava Lash is much more in line with kind of what Gasbolt was. From what I can gather, Gasbolt was similar to like Grobulus, which, I mean, that's the server we play on. We have a good understanding of that kind of server. But it seemed like Crusader Strike just seems like a Faerlina kind of server. Well, I guess they do in SOD at least have, even factions. So, but it's like one of those mega servers. And I'm not really sure how much like RP kind of stuff is happening over there, but it seemed like Lava Lash was much more kind of in line with Chaos Bolt. So that was a good option. But also, when this first kind of got launched, people were getting their characters like permanently stuck on transfer. I'm not sure if you saw this, but people
I
would
did not.
transfer their characters and then they just couldn't play them. like like 10 hours after they transferred them, they were just unplayable. But I think like the next day Blizzard fixed that. But people were pretty mad at first because like not only did their server essentially get, just sentenced to death, like that server is getting axed soon. They also just couldn't even play their characters. And like for a lot of people it was like a raid night and stuff. So like they missed their raid. So yeah, kind of rough for people, but uh Blizzard said they had like stats on like the churn rate or something for Chaos Bolt and it wasn't looking good for the server, so they just decided to pull the plug, send everybody elsewhere, consolidate. And I mean, this is something um they've been talking about a lot, just with like how much they're policing like realm population and faction balance and stuff in SOD. Which honestly, it would have been really cool to see like this kind of approach back in Classic. But I think they've learned from their mistakes and they kind of know what they're doing now. It does suck for the people on Chaos Bolt because like they probably formed a pretty nice community that they liked from what I heard. And now everybody's kind of scattered. And also, since they didn't have Lava Lash as an initial option, that kind of feels bad because a lot of people thought Crusader Strike was their only option. They transferred. And then shortly after, they found out there was actually another option that probably lined up more with what they wanted. So I don't know. How are you feeling about this?
Just to touch base on that last thing, I think that those people that did get that transfer to Crusader Strike immediately because they had no other option. I definitely think they should be able to maybe switch to Lava Lash if that's something that they wanted to do. But I do like the direction that Blizzard's taking. I definitely agree with you that in Classic it should have been more like this. It was great to see like the just even the change to the mega servers in Classic, but then for them to go on that again and do it again even further and better in SoD. And now they're tracking it and keeping a close eye on it. I think it's kind of good. It sucks that it's super sudden. I'm glad that it wasn't like on the third, for instance, because if they were locked for the fourth, it would have caused some huge strife further than it did. So that's kind of a bummer for those people that played on that server. Um, but I know that on the servers that I play on, when I dabble with like 3 servers, but mostly I'm home with Lone Wolf. Um, but I know on the servers that I dabble on, the community and the world feels very alive where I'm at. So I'm very thankful for that and the people that I play with, at least on those servers. But if my server ends up getting axed and I gotta go somewhere, uh, I believe it's probably for the better because Grobulos was the same situation for me. I switched from Herod, which was like a once thriving server, like probably one of the highest population servers, and we kind of got weaned away and into the dust. We got dusted. But Grobulos has been fabulous. I hope it doesn't go anywhere, but the numbers are looking pretty bleak. So we'll see. I mean, it leads us into the next segue here where they're consolidating some of the Cata ones. And hopefully Grobulos makes it through. Um, because I know it is still one of the highest or higher populations, but not nearly where it was before.
Yeah. I mean, I came from Fairbanks also, which was at one point one of the biggest servers as well. And that one just, slowly died off. And then there was a point in TBC where Blizzard did the exact same thing, actually, that they did to Chaos Bolt, where they just locked the server and then gave free transfers off, and then server just died overnight. Like a few days after they did that, we were like the last guild to transfer off, and this was during TBC, and Shatrath was completely empty. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we were the
the
same way
servers
where
die quick.
we were the same way where like you had an option to either jump ship or die trying, and we stayed just like you. We were like one of the last guilds there, and the fact that we couldn't buy anything from the auction house at all, and we had to like go farm it ourselves was enough to say, here we go, let's make a choice, Faerlina
Yeah,
or Grobulos, and we decided Grobulos first because it was free, but also because I think most of us enjoyed the fact that the world is more alive in the PvP and stuff like that. And I know um, Agron and stuff was talking about um, the Benediction and Faerlina thing, and I don't know about that, but I'll let you touch base on that. But I feel like it'll definitely make waves if it was something to come true. Um, but at the end of the day, they picked a PvP server. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah. So let's get into that. That is our next topic. So Blizzard basically this. So this is another, like, I guess this is like a separate topic, but so much of the news now just happens on devs like talking on Twitter, which is, it feels kind of weird, but I definitely appreciated all the communication. It just feels weird because like every time you hear like, there's some change they're like thinking about or something, it's always just some random tweet, and then like trying to track down the source for it, because like people like post fake like tweets and blue posts and stuff all the time in Discord, so you have to actually go find the tweet yourself to know if something's real. But yeah, it is just feels kind of weird to have to like track down individual tweets that are like in like threads and stuff to like figure out what's going on with this game. But at least Wowhead here can consolidate everything for us. So
Yeah, thankfully.
basically, the gist of this is Blizzard is 100% doing server consolidation before Cata, which I think we expected. We've been doing our little project on Sky Fury, a dead server where we've been doing like a guild group found thing, which has been really fun, but the server is completely dead. Like at any given time, there's usually like 5 people online. If we're raiding, there's like 15 people online because 10 of us are in ICC. But we all pretty much just expected like a lot of these dead realms, they're going to go away before Kata. They did the same thing before Wrath. So nothing too crazy there. But as part of this, they also mentioned that they were at least considering the possibility of merging Faerlina and Benediction. Faerlina, if you don't know, is like a 99% Horde server. Benediction, like a 99% Alliance server. Both mega servers, just kind of huge hubs where people go to have lots of raid possibilities and PvP possibilities. So the idea is that maybe they combine these and create an actual balanced PvP server out of 2 mega one faction servers. It's a really interesting idea. They haven't done anything like this before, but they also sound like they probably aren't going to do this. Um, let's see. Here's the quote too from Tom Ellis. He said, "We can't actually act on this one as much as we'd like. It's just rocking the status quo too much. But I'm intrigued on your thoughts. How much do you think we should insert ourselves into realm management?" This would obviously be a pretty big insertion into realm management, which I think they've pretty successfully done in SoD. Like, it seems like they've kept the factions pretty balanced. It does suck that like a server like Chaos Bolt that has a small, cool community is going away, but that's part of managing the servers. How are we feeling about this? Do you? It sounded like before you're kind of pro Faerlina Benediction merger.
I kind of want to see it like the chaos. Rip Chaos Bolt, bring chaos to Wrath of the Lich King. Um, I think it's an interesting idea. Do I think it's the best idea? Probably not. Most of these people, as we know, like there is definitely PvPers there, like the original OGs and stuff. But a lot of people that transferred there did that exact thing that you said. Is they're going for the rating scene, for the availability of like however many people there are compared to some of these smaller servers. So one of my ideas was, why not merge them together as like a trial run, maybe? So in retail, there's like these realms like are connected together. I don't exactly remember the term that they use for it.
They actually just call them connected realms.
Well, there it
So
is,
you
connected
you
realms.
had it
So
right there,
maybe
just not in the right order. Yeah.
there you go. So maybe if they did like a connected realm situation for like a little bit, just to see how like test the waters, I think that would be interesting. Um, during Cata launch, that would probably be catastrophic. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, I think it'll be too much for people. But either that, either do like a trial run, or just merge them together and make it a PVE realm. To be quite honest, because honestly, that's what they are now. There's nothing, you know what I mean. There's no one. There's no one to fight now. So, but it would all depend on the queue times and stuff like that because they're huge servers. But I feel like I would love to see it. Um, but I feel like the same fate would be shared for some of these realms, as they did in the past, if the two factions collided. So I think some of the alliance that do not want to PvP would probably go to like Pagel or something, and then some of the horde that did not want to PvP would go to Mancrick or whatever server. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't necessarily think it's the best idea. I do think that consolidation before Cata and the other realms is good though. So It's gonna suck to see our little Sky Fury guys go away, but I got everything done there that I wanted to get done, so at least that's good. Won my little fishing tournament and everything.
Same. Yeah, it's been good. As part of this too, Agrand had mentioned that they rolled out like new server tech with SoD that allows them to have like much bigger server capacity. So with that, he said he doesn't think there would be any queues doing this, and if there were, it wouldn't be anywhere close to what we saw at like the beginning of Wrath. So at least according to him, it sounds like the queue issue might not even be a real issue if they were to like combine Faerlina and Benediction, which I've found really interesting because I mean I think that was most people's thought is like if you combine two mega servers together, of course on a new expansion launch, it's just gonna be like crazy queues. But Agrid was kind of saying that shouldn't really actually be an issue. Um, so where I'm at with this, I don't know. I keep like kind of changing my mind on it, but like we play on Grobulus right now, which is one of, if not the only like even faction like Wrath server. Most of the time, it's kind of just like a little bit of an annoyance, like the world PvP aspect, like. I mean, just a couple of days ago, you might remember, like right before raid, I was like trying to respec. I go into Orgrimmar to respec at my guy Master Pyrenor, and right as I'm about to respec, 50 Alliance roll in and kill Master Pyrenor right before I can respec. I think this is the only server that really happens on where if you go to like respec, there's a chance a raid might roll in and kill your class trainer right in front of you. So then I had to, get summoned to ICC, take the portal to Dalaran to go Silver Moon City to respec. But like it wasn't a big deal, but it's just like that's the kind of stuff that happens there. And then Abby, I feel like half the time I go into Orgrimmar, there's like people ganking right out the portal too, like back in like OG Classic. So I don't really mind it that much, but I also play tanks and like a lot of the time you can just kind of 1v3 people, 1v5 people, so it isn't a huge deal. But for other people, they definitely don't really like, just try to go to the auction house, somebody kills all the auctioneers, they can't buy anything. They gotta like Hearth, go to a different city, go to different auctioneers. So it definitely like disrupts gameplay a little bit, but these are both PvP servers. So, I don't know. I don't think there's like a ton of people that are like super interested in this. Like that really, really want Cata World PvP. Like that's the thing they've been craving. Just like a raid group, going on flying mounts into Thrall's room, just insta killing him. Or Garrosh now, I guess, is our leader, I think. Um Yeah, I don't know. It seemed to me it just seems like it's gonna make archaeology more annoying to do, but at the same time, I don't really care a ton. Like I already play on Grobulus, I already deal with like fighting people in the world, so I don't care a ton. But I think it's for the average player, it's probably a bad idea for them to do this. But I would also like to see the connected realm thing. Selfishly, I just want like more people to raid with. So I'd love to see like connected realm, like war mode, so people can opt out of PvP if they want. Allow you to raid with Alliance's Horde, Horde as Alliance. Like I would be totally for all that stuff because I just want a bigger pool of people to raid with, but I really doubt they would do anything like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the war mode thing because I feel like that was a pretty good change when it rolled out, where you can opt in to the PvP with a tiny bit of reward on the other end of it, which I think is really good. So I think that's definitely a good idea. But the connected realms would be pretty cool too, and then obviously having more people to raid with, like you said, would be pretty cool. I think it's a little weird still to raid with the opposite faction, but that's just my take.
Yeah.
I feel like I still hate them.
I mean,
This dirty
it
alliance scum.
does kind of just go against like the whole like basis of WoW, like somewhat, I guess. But like then you have the Alliance and Horde like teaming up constantly throughout every expansion. Like literally at ICC, like teaming up to kill the Lich King and everything. I don't know.
Yeah,
After
that's true.
after the gunship stuff, I guess. We had to get that part out of the way.
Yeah,
They had to keep some friction.
yeah. I feel like it's always like back and forth. They're like, "Oh, we're the best friends now," and then the next expansion, we're like, "We're at war," and then the one after that, "Oh, we're best friends again."
Yeah.
And it's always like,
Honestly, yeah, I'm just kind of over that. I just want more people to raid with, like selfishly. That's my whole goal.
yeah. I think the like little masqueraded battlegrounds or whatever, like where you're like the where you can fight, the same faction and stuff. I think those are
Yeah.
pretty cool though too, right? Because then it gets more war games, more battlegrounds, more arenas, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
I
Like
mean
a lot of
that
those.
that was huge. That was like one
Yeah,
of the best things they ever did. I don't know how much like PvP you did at the start of TBC, but it got real bad. It was like literally 1 to 2 hour queues for Horde to get a BG. So every Horde player, the only way you could get honor was going out in the world in TBC and like ganking every single alliance you saw. Which, I mean, you got honor for killing people that I think were up to 8 levels lower than you. So I would just literally fly around Terracar, kill every single person questing there, every level 64, whatever, because that was the only way you could get honor. Like, you had to just gank every single alliance you saw. Otherwise, you weren't getting any of the PvP gear. So it, like, not only did it make the experience like really bad for Horde, but then us Horde, we like pushed that awful experience onto Alliance. Like, they were not allowed to quest at all. And then they all transferred off the server dead. So like,
yeah,
I mean, the just things like long BG queues, like I mean, that had this like ripple effect that like ultimately killed the server. So I mean, when yeah, the whole faction thing, like I really don't care about it that much. Like I just want the gameplay to be good, and if you have to sacrifice like the faction versus faction thing to make the gameplay good, I'm totally fine with that.
yeah. It's the same thing for our server too, where we were like, I did PvP at the beginning of TBC, and that was kind of what like turned me off about it was like these long queues. And I remember we had to go out to like Coil Fang Reservoir and like gank the people that were coming in through the tunnel and stuff like that, like with underwater breathing. And we just like destroy them where they didn't have a chance. And then, like you said, it's like a ripple effect, right? Like even more and more people left because of that. So, although we did have a lot of um, people leave just at the end of Classic on our realm on Herod because it was just like a battleground summoning to Nax. It was crazy. Like people just wanted to kill the level 1 summoners or whatever it was, level 20s, whatever it was. It was just a pain in the butt. So I'm with it. I'm with the faction, same faction PvP and stuff. The rating, I could probably get used to it, but I don't know. Maybe because I'm a grob mob. Maybe I just like to kill my alliance every now and then. Someone tries to jump me and I smack them around a little. I kind of like it.
Fair enough. Yeah, when I was thinking about it, I realized that I get a ton of satisfaction of just like, I mean, I have so many just random PvP encounters when I'm just doing my mount farms and stuff. Like I'm on my way to ZG, I'm on my way to like Blue Proto Farm, whatever. Like people try to gank me all the time when I'm just trying to do my mount farms, and like I get like immense satisfaction out of it because like I don't like attack people. I just wait for them to attack me and then I just wreck them because like for some reason they see a tank and they're like, "Oh, easy kill." It's like they don't understand. Like tanks do crazy damage. They have crazy survivability. Like especially if it's melee, like prop pally versus melee, you can take on like 10 people. But yeah, it's really fun just AoEing players down like they're just trash mobs. I love that. That's one of
Yeah,
my favorites.
the turnaround is probably my favorite thing. Like where they really think they got you, and you're like, okay, because I play 10 characters as well, so it's the same for me. It's like, you know what, you're donezo.
Yeah.
That was probably a bad move.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll be fine if they merge Faerlina and Benediction. I don't think it's a good move, but like
Yeah,
I'll be all right. Like I'll be playing a Blood DK and Cata. Like who's gonna kill me? Like like it, I mean yeah. I'm fine with it. I don't think it's a good idea. I would definitely like them to, you know, kind of expand on some other things though, like connected realms, war mode, that kind of stuff. I think that'd be pretty awesome. And as we get further along in these expansions, they've already said this is like Cata with changes. They've like really emphasized that. So some big change like connected realms and war mode. I think that could actually be a good move.
I think so
All
as well.
right. So next up, SoD Phase 3 is launching April 4th. We talked about it a little bit last week. They didn't give a ton of heads up for this one, but yeah, it's coming in just a few days. Do you know what class you're leveling first?
I've been pretty partial to my mage, so I think I'm gonna do that. Um, I do like that. Just to go through this a little bit, I do like that they added some of the sets and they're like specific to the class. I did like that one of the set bonuses helped the rogue uh, elevate to a level that people may want to bring them to raid, where they give like hemorrhage basically, but it's basically like the gift of Arthas, where they give the raid a little bit more melee damage, which is pretty cool. So I think they heard a lot of people's feedback and stuff like that, which is good. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to play the mage and stuff, and the runes look pretty cool. Some of the runes look pretty cool. Some of the set bonuses look okay. Uh, I'm I think I said this last week. I'm a huge fan of the 7-day lockout versus the 3-day lockout. Not that I don't love ZG. I think ZG is probably one of the greatest instances ever. It just gives more time to do other things. And WoW is full of things. Like you said last week, it's the golden age. There are so many things to do in WoW right now that splitting your time between them, it just makes it a little bit easier, and then you can get a little taste of everything instead of just sticking to one thing. What's if you were to level a character, I'd have to guess for you it would probably be that warrior, that gladiator warrior, but I'll let you delve into that if you'd like. I know you're not playing SOD much, but
Yeah, it's pretty unlikely I'll play this season. I mean, I would probably go back to Pally though. I think if I did, I think I saw they got Hammer the Righteous. So that sounds
it's the
pretty
laying on the
fun.
hand. It was the laying of the hands.
Yeah, yeah. If we get lightheaded Pally, I'm back in.
Yeah, so I
Um,
wonder if there's going to be in the um in the season of discovery, or sorry, the season of mastery, there was the survivor of the fire lord title for doing it with like the iron soul and stuff, and I
mhm.
know a lot of people got that uh achievement like wrongfully, right, and
Oh
transferred
yeah.
over.
Whoa.
I don't know
Like,
anyone that who did that, but
huh. Interesting. Yeah.
um but
Anybody
I
who
wonder.
like constantly like flaunts it,
Yeah,
but
I don't
like
know. Yeah, I have
got
no
it
idea.
illegitimately?
Yeah, no idea. um no, but one of my characters does have it, and I did not get it legitimately. I did die once or twice along the way. Um, but I wonder if there's going to be anything like that where maybe is there would there be any regret, like if you missed out on something, or if there's like just because you did complete the season, if there's like a transmog or something. I wonder if it's something that you would ever regret, missing out on something like that, or a title or whatever it may be.
Hmm. Yeah. If there was like a title that would transfer over to like Cata Classic, I would probably level a character. I mean, at this point they've already given what, like two or three different like XP buffs throughout SOD. So by the time it gets to level 60, I mean, you could probably just do the whole thing in like less than a day, I would guess, like with all the stacked up XP stuff. But yeah, if they like add some kind of title, I would go back for that at least. But They also, I'm not sure they're gonna like let you transfer these characters to like Cata Classic though. I kind of think they're gonna have like a separate server. I think they don't even know exactly what they're doing yet, but I think there's gonna be like some kind of like SoD server that you'll be able to transfer. If not, probably just Classic era. But I kind of don't think you'll be able to transfer these characters to Cata, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it would be weird, right? Because they would have like this super powerful gear that could change the meta based on, maybe a set bonus or something. Your slice and dice. Like there's definitely past sets where you can use them even up until I think Mista Pandaria or even further beyond, where like rogues are using their tier 5 or whatever it is to get more slice and dice uptime at the beginning of a pull. Like just little things like that. So I wonder, yeah, I'm probably with you on that one where it's just gonna like maybe be a little too disruptive. Plus, you'd have to like strip all the runes away from everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the gear would just like revert to like the version it is in, Kata, or like if it's a piece that doesn't even exist, it probably is, I don't know, just completely removed from your character. But I'm
No,
not
don't
sure
give me a
exactly
naked
how they
gnome.
do it. Yeah,
I don't want a naked gnome. I don't want to log into a
this is
naked
gonna
gnome.
be
Thank
naked
you.
gnomes all the way down.
No, no good naked gnomes.
Um, yeah, so I mean, just quick overview of what's coming. Obviously, new runes, you got lots of new gear, new crafted stuff. This 1 week lockout, that's the thing I've heard like the most praise for this phase. People were getting real tired of the like 3 day lockout. It also is like kind of weird because it doesn't like match up perfectly with like a 1 week rotation. So like to maximize like how many runs you're doing, like some weeks you have to raid like different days and stuff. So this allows people to be a bit more consistent on their schedule and everything. And also obviously just raid like half as often. And they said they're compensating with like more loot drops. So you'll get like the same amount of loot, but you're raiding half as often. So seems pretty good. And I think a big part of this too is they want people to like feel less tied to SOD because they got like Cat Classic coming out. They got a bunch of new like retail stuff coming out, and then War Within at like the end of the summer. So I think this is part of how they're gonna, slightly detach people from SOD to maybe want to try other things in WoW. But yeah. And then we also have the Nightmare Incursions. That's gonna be like a new PvE event that actually looked pretty cool. I'm interested to see how that all plays out. And dual spec. Dual spec. People have been asking for that, and it's finally coming. So that's another thing that's like, it just takes like a bunch of little things and maybe it would pull me back in. But dual spec definitely a good ad.
Yeah, dual spec is definitely good. I wonder if the 7 day lockout too may extend the longevity of the beginning of a phase, where like you saw the phase two's drop off came fairly quickly. Like people got bored with it after like 3 weeks. Where phase one, people were doing a lot of like experimenting and stuff like that with like new tunes or whatever it is. So I wonder if like the 7 day lockout may even extend some of that life because you're not getting all your gear like back to back to back. I know there will be, gear compensations, but that doesn't mean that it'll drop. So where if
Yep.
you're going in there once every, you're going in there twice, 3 times a week, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can just get decked out like super quick. So
Yep. RNGesus. Gotta pray to him nightly.
gotta pray to him nightly.
Pray to him nightly. So next up, we got a little phase 4 teaser for SOD as well this week. So they just wanted to give, a little look at what's to come. So this would be for level 60, which based on their timeline is kind of projected to come partway through the summer. And a big part of this is passive weapon skills bonuses that do not stack with racials. So human players are kind of mad about this, although they had said even at BlizzCon, I think that they were going to do something like this. but you'll be able to like pick one or sorry, two weapon skills that you can just have passively, like +5 of that weapon skill. And you'll be able to actually, I might be reading this wrong. Passive will allow you to gain +5 to your choice of two weapon skills, and you'll be able to swap your choice of two weapon skills on the fly. Okay, so yeah, you have one active at a time, but you have like two that you can quickly swap between.
Right. So like a dual spec, but for
Yeah,
your weapons.
yeah, exactly.
I'm a huge fan of this because I picked a Night Elf Warrior waiting for this because I know they said it big time at BlizzCon, and I was hoping, and I was like, oh man, do I really want to play a Night Elf Warrior? Do I really want to play a Night Elf Warrior? So
It's all about to pay off. All right, and then along with that, priest racials, you're also going to be able to pick that, like regardless of what kind of priest you are. So if you want Fear Ward, on an actually, are they? This was the one thing I wasn't sure of. Are these still like faction specific, or like can Horde get Fear Ward too? Because like the
I will.
example they give is Night Elves can learn Fear Ward, Forsaken can learn Shadow Guard. Since they like specifically kept them like same faction in their like example, I kind of think it'll still be locked to faction, but I'm not sure. Although this other thing says there will be a method to unlock priest racial passives on all other races. So that makes it seem like it is like a cross faction.
Yeah, I think they're just leaving a little mystery to it for us, but the way that I read it was the same way as you, where I think it's maybe just the one faction gets to interchange whatever they're using. But I think it would be cool to see them, just all the way around. Like if you want star shards on a troll or whatever, that's what you get. I don't know
Yeah.
who's picking star shards, but there
Oh,
it is.
I
You know what I
would
mean?
for sure.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think they should just open it up. Like every if that's not already the plan, just open it up. Every kind of priest can get any kind of
Yeah.
racial they want.
It'll definitely make some big changes for PvP, so that'll be interesting for those PvPers out there. Having Fear Ward and stuff on the Horde would probably make things pretty nice for some of those players. And I'm a huge fan of Shadow Guard. I know it's like underutilized, but in PvP as a Shadow Priest, if you play Troll, I know a lot of people played Undead for Devouring Plague, which is amazing also. But um, the ratio at which you get spell power to Shadow Guard is insane, and it procs Blackout. It's just, I don't know, it's like phenomenal. I loved playing Shadow Priest a little bit in Classic with that, and if a rogue starts hitting you, he's just like stunned forever. It's so funny.
And then the other stuff, they just touched on future gold sinks. They noted that they really want there to be gold sinks, but they just can't be what they say in the critical path of gear progression. So no gold sinks that like prohibit people from like, getting their base and stuff. It should be more for, I guess, like cosmetic stuff. Like maybe they make like an engineering mount or something
Spider
similar.
mounts.
Yeah. Um, some kind of, cosmetic gold sync or something along those lines. It seems like is what they're going for.
I think it would be cool if they did something like that, where it would also transfer over to maybe the retail realms or the Cataclysm realms or something. Like if you got like a transmog or whatever, and it like went into your toy box and Cataclysm or whatever. I think that would be pretty cool. It may feel like a chore though, however, just like Plunder Storm or whatever for some people
Hmm.
where they feel like they have to do it, right? They have to play SoD, which I think they're definitely against, despite, wanting all the subs that they can get, I'm sure. But I think they're definitely taking a different approach with it where they're like, we don't want you to have to play SoD, but we want you to enjoy it while you do.
Yeah, I think that's a good move because like once you get into like forcing people, well, like with quotation marks forcing, nobody has to, but you feel like you're missing out. Obviously, it's the whole FOMO thing. If
Yeah,
there's like a limited time, like mount, title, whatever that's available, you have to play some version of the game you don't actually like to play. It's just kind of bad because, like, I mean, if you just have this huge influx of players that don't actually want to be there, like, it just ruins the experience for everybody, right? Like, don't want to be there in the first place. It's not going to be a good time, like, interacting with people that are, like, feeling forced to, play your version of the game. But
yeah, but it's definitely a possibility because you've seen it a lot with like
yeah.
Hearthstone or Diablo or whatever it is.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like
100%.
it's something that they
Yeah, Hearthstone,
definitely
like,
do. So
biggest example probably. Like, I mean, but the commitment, I feel like for Hearthstone, the commitment's usually, like, really low.
yeah,
Like, a
for
lot of
sure.
times it's, like, kinda just log in or play 1 game, but
Yeah,
yeah.
or play like 5 games or whatever it is, win or
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah, like, the Hearthsteed mount, I'm trying to remember, that one came out forever ago. I feel like you just had to, like, log in or something,
Yeah,
but
you actually got another one. I don't know if you saw that where you for the
I
10th
haven't actually
anniversary of
got that one
Hearthstone.
yet.
Yeah, for the 10th anniversary for Hearthstone, you were able to get like the opposite color. So
I
we
might have missed it
originally got like
already.
the blue one, and now we got the red one or something like that.
Yeah, the
But
blue
same
one was
thing.
the original one. That's the
Yeah,
one I
same
have for sure.
yeah, same horse, just different color of the fire or whatever. So I thought
Same
that was pretty cool
horse,
that
new
they brought it back.
tricks.
Same horse, new tricks.
Yeah, so they also give a preview of like some of the level 60 itemization. So they said they're adding off spec tier sets at level 60, tier 1, 2, and 3 raids. Great choice, obviously. I mean, I think people kind of knew this was coming. If you've looked at any data mine stuff since like basically the beginning of SoD, you've probably been seeing some of these things already. But I mean, just kind of a no-brainer decision, and
Yeah.
definitely want to add in like tokens, I think, with that too, because like it already felt so bad. I mean, back in classic, you get a druid piece to drop, the whole raid just groans. Like that's just going right in the trash. Like because you had one druid in your raid, they instantly get geared out, and then every druid piece is worthless.
Yep.
um and then most items at level 60 end game are going to be revamped or retuned in some way. So that is great. That was a huge concern a lot of people had. Like, even in phase one, people were already comparing some of the BFD gear to, level 60 raid gear. And they're like, this, like, your prebis is going to be something you get at level 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I think
uh,
it would have made for an interesting interaction though, because I feel like that's kind of what Classic was, right? Was like going to
mhm,
get that. Oh, I had to go get my nifty stopwatch or my skull of impending doom. You know what I mean? Like some of those items that are just so far out of the way and so low level, but have such like a huge impact, or whatever whatever it is. Like Edge Masters were level what 44, and they were like end game bits for so many different warriors. Like that's crazy. But I think that's kind of what Classic is. So I'm for the change, obviously, because the power creep is real, and I don't want to go. I don't want to have to go back into BFD, but yeah,
yeah. I mean, that
it's
that is a really good point. Like, going back and getting like items from lower level dungeons and stuff, that is just peak classic.
it for
Like,
sure.
I mean, Edge Masters you brought up, that's like probably one of the best examples. And then even like things like Hand of Justice. I mean, I'm trying to remember the exact level it requires, maybe 56 or something. But I mean, you're farming BRD to get like trinkets that last forever, the SGC, all that kind of stuff. And then even like um late into like classic, you're still farming MC, you're trying to get Thunder Furies, you're trying to get onslaught girdles, and So yeah, just doing old content is just like peak classic.
I mean,
But
even some of those items lasted or originally had lasted into Wrath of the Lich King, right? Like Stylene's is a great example.
yep,
Um,
Stylene's, the AQ scarab.
yep, and
Um,
MQG had to get changed in Wrath of the Lich King because it was too powerful still,
yeah,
which is crazy.
everybody was using that in TBC.
Yeah, and in Wrath of the Lich King, I think in the beginning of Wrath of the Lich King, I think maybe that was TBC that I'm thinking, but I know that it was like going
Definitely
insane.
TBC. Yeah, it was big in TBC.
I know they were like popping it and just like arcane explosion. There's like a pack of three mages or whatever, and three is just destroying people using them. So, but things like that where they have like a flat amount of haste or whatever, like a flat amount of
Mhm.
X healing converted into something. Those items feel good, but they're also detrimental towards the game too.
Yeah.
So I understand the itemization changes here. So
I
I'm
mean,
for it. I just know like we were talking about classic items. It does feel like part of classic to go back and get those stupid little items.
yeah. That was like the whole reason they added in like the rating system too. So like um some of those things that remained like percentage things were just Gavin oversight.
Yeah.
Um yeah. Anything else you saw in the phase 4 teasers that was interesting to you?
Nah, I'm just looking at phase three right now. I mean, I was excited that they were a little bit more transparent and stuff. The weapon skill was awesome for my night elf, so I was happy with that. But just one step at a time for me because you know what I mean. I want to explore. I like that phase one was like a total exploration, so I try not to delve into those things too much. But I am excited for phase three, so I do
Yeah.
spoil myself a little because don't want the FOMO.
For sure. And I mean, it seems like there's only so much you can do. Like everywhere you look, like there's
Yeah,
info, and then like a lot of the runes, it feels like aren't even really possible to figure out yourself without like looking up guides. So
I do like that some of them were left pretty hidden, and they were like 3 or 4 days later. That was pretty cool in phase two. But I remember the demonology warlock or whatever. It was like a week or two or whatever, right before people were like figuring that out.
yeah.
So I liked that a lot.
All right. So next we're gonna go over Cata beta. So they just added level 80 to 85 this week. We got the whole list of what's been added. They added all the new leveling zones. There's 5 new leveling zones. They added the leveling dungeons. They added character copy, which people were very excited about, and archaeology. We're still missing a lot of really big things. We're missing reforging, transmogrification, guild system updates, dungeon journal, LFD, Tolbarad. On top of just like tons of classes being bugged at the moment. Um, like one of my favorites is like druids just unlearn mangle when they log out. I think that's like hilarious.
Yeah, and that's been
Um,
the thing since the start of the beta almost. So it's weird that that's something that hasn't been addressed and fixed like almost immediately.
yeah, there seem to be a ton of things like that too. Like I've heard of a lot of problems with like blood decay. Like it sounded like almost nothing blood decay related was even working. And then you have things like this: raise dead doesn't raise a ghoul. Like,
I
it
like the
does it
block
doesn't
one.
do like the one thing it is supposed to. The warlock one, yeah, blood pact
No,
gives
the block.
strength. Oh, block one.
Yeah, they only
Um,
literally just one damage.
yeah, your block only blocks 1 damage. So for everybody who doesn't know, it's supposed to block 30% of incoming damage in Cata, but for a while, I think they fixed this, but for a while it was only blocking 1 damage. So that was great. And the warlock blood pack gives strength instead of stamina. Um, and then also for Death Knight, rune tap does not activate a rune immediately. So Death Knights just sound like they're completely broken. Like almost every ability and passive for Death Knights I've heard isn't working. So
but they still feel strong somehow.
everybody's still like praising Death Knights a ton on beta, even though like everything about them doesn't work. So like just wait until they actually do what they're supposed to. Then you will see.
Yeah,
But yeah, have you been playing the Cata beta at all? Obviously, I've somehow avoided getting into it. But have you been playing at all?
I have. I'm level I think 82. I've been messing around with stuff, and I keep going back to town, and I'm like, oh, when's transmog going to be up? When's reforging going to be up? Because I want to try these little systems more so than I want to try like the testing of the quests and stuff like that. I have found a few bugs, um, but I'm not like into like min maxing like how quickly I do level. So I'd rather see like the little tiny things and see if I can help fix those in any way or give feedback in any way to fix those for future things. But I'm a big transmog guy, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that all pans out because we have our little ethereal homies over there, and I just want to see. I want to see what they give us, like what's the final product or whatever. You know what I mean? Like if we can transmog legendaries, if we can, um, transmog tier 3 where it becomes the classless versions of the set, like they do on the black market auction house. I want stuff like that. I just want to test that stuff out, right? More so than the leveling.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting when they put transmog in. A lot of questions right now, but um, yeah. Are there any like major bugs you've encountered that were like hilarious or just like completely made you stop what you were doing?
Yeah, there's been characters. When I did the most recent one is I went through the list of characters. I not created a copy, but I created like a template character. The Draenei's just did not have a tentacles on their head. Like
What?
their head was just gone. Like the top of their head was just missing. So that was pretty interesting for me. There's been like some quest ones or uh like data is just not complete in some of these, or like art assets or whatever just not complete in some of these characters and stuff where they're like their clothes are like green or whatever, for example, right? But their character model's fine, so like their outfits are just wrong or whatever. But the funniest one recently was the Draenei. Didn't they just had no top, no toppy.
That's
They were wearing an
amazing,
invisible hat.
incredible. I kind of hope that makes it live. I want to see that.
Yeah, or horns or what? I don't even know. To be honest, I don't even remember what's on top of the Draenei's head. It just wasn't there though, so I couldn't even put it together.
Yeah, now
So I
that you
think they're like
mention it, I
hornies and
honestly
like
don't
tentacles.
know.
But it was only the
Yeah.
males. It was not the females. The
Oh,
females were
okay.
untouched.
Okay.
Every other race was fine. So after I saw that, I had to go through each and every one of them, and I was like, maybe it's the hairstyle. No, it was every Draenei hairstyle. It just wasn't there for the males.
All right. So this week, we're also just going to go over changes we want to see in Cata. So there's a few that I think like a lot of people have on their minds, like LFR. Probably when you mention changes you want to see in Cata, I feel like LFR is the first thing that comes to most people's head. Um, how do you feel about this? Are you team LFR or no LFR?
No LFR for me. No
Okay.
LFR
Yeah,
for me. I
I
think it's
think
too
pretty much
simple.
everybody's there. Yeah.
I think it's just too simple, and it forces people to not like it forces it to feel like more of a solo game where the game should feel like an MMO.
Yeah, I
Like
remember a lot of the meta was just like basically 10 people actually playing and then the rest of it just AFK.
yeah.
So like it's just like a bad experience. Like it's only the fights like take forever because like nobody knows what they're doing, nobody's geared, half the raid's AFK, and like nothing does damage. Like people aren't actually learning anything. But then it gives you some gear, so like you feel like you kind of have to do it. And I don't know. I would definitely like to see them just get rid of LFR, add that gear somewhere else, which kind of brings us to another thing: dungeons. It sounds like they're for sure gonna be expanding on probably the Titan Rune dungeon thing they did in Wrath. We don't know for sure. They said there's gonna be some sort of harder dungeon thing that comes later in the Cata phases. It sounds like it's just a continuation of Titan Rune dungeon style stuff. I would be totally fine with M plus too. I don't think it's gonna be that, but I think it'll be more in line with Titan Rune dungeons. So it seems like that'd be a perfect opportunity to just add LFR gear to whatever those dungeons are, Heroic Plus, whatever it is.
I think Mythic Plus would definitely be a better option for me personally. The Titan Rune dungeons, they're not necessarily harder. Some of them are even more fun the higher you go. You know, like Halls of Lightning and stuff. Like, sure, it takes a little longer, but it feels good to do them. Um, but I think a Mythic Plus system would be good, but maybe like cap it, right? Where there isn't like you can't go to like 28 or 30 or whatever it is. Maybe just put it at like 10 or whatever and make those levels, maybe even a little harder from 1 to 10 scaling rather than making people go in like to infinity and beyond. But I think M pluses also create more esports type stuff, more competition and stuff. So I think that would be better for the community to have more outlets rather than just rating.
Yeah, I would be totally in favor of them adding M plus. And I don't know if you've seen it, but coming up, I think it's in the next update, season 4 for retail. They're actually revamping the M plus system. So they're like condensing like the levels to it. They're making like the base level M plus like the equivalent of I think like a plus 10 is now.
Yeah.
So the numbers aren't like as crazy. There's not like such a wide array of, levels to it. Really like condensing everything. And the like baseline one doesn't even have like a timer on it. So uh like everything I've seen is everybody loves these like M plus changes that they're making in retail. So bringing M plus into Cata with those changes coming with it, I think that would be really awesome. And Cata's got great raids, great PvP. If you could add in just like a, some sort of 5-man, progression system too, that like, I mean, I think that kind of like completes the expansion and like there's always going to be like something interesting to do. So I would love to see him plus, but I don't know if it's likely, but I think it'll just probably be more Titan Rune kind of stuff, but 100% on board with M plus.
Yeah, I wonder what the dynamic would be um in a game that's not really suited for Mythic Plus, right? Where even in retail, there's metas for certain dungeons, and like at one point you're like everyone had to bring a Shadow Priest, right? Just things like that. I wonder if it'll be um, like if we do get M plus. I wonder how the meta will shake out, and hopefully we do get some balance and class changes if that is the case, so that some classes just aren't lacking or just not wanted even in those runs. So you're not just like forced to run with your friends. You can actually run with other people and stuff like that, and you're not like forced to play. Oh, I have to play a rogue to play with my friends. Whatever whatever the case may
Hmm.
be.
Yeah, I mean, I think M plus helps a lot with that too, because it makes like more specs viable. Because like the things you want in a raid are different than the things you want in like an M plus. So I think it just gives you like a even wider array of like what specs are relevant like throughout the expansion. And they have emphasized this is like Cata with changes. Another change I'm really hoping to see is like class balance. They started to do this in Wrath. You saw like the Ret Pally glyph get added. The change they also made a change where like certain abilities would proc Seal of Vengeance dot, which inadvertently like helped prop eyes too. It allowed like two more of our abilities to proc SOV dot. So prop eyes got a little bit of a buff there. We got to ramp up our SOV event quicker as a result of that. But the buff was intended for rep eyes. Um, so yeah,
Druids got some
druids. Druids
massive
is the other big
changes across
one.
the board. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the Omen of Clarity glyph. That'll be also interesting to see like which of these glyphs they like keep into, because like Warrior got the Shattering Throw one. That made it so they could cast Shattering Throw in any stance, no cast time. But yeah,
I think
the main thing I just want to see them be more on top of class balance. So if a class is like really underperforming, I'm not exactly sure how I would like define that. I think it's like maybe if there's more than like a 15% gap between them and like the number one on average. I'm not exactly sure what number I would like put on it, but if a class is or a spec is underperforming, it should probably get a little bit of a buff.
so. How do you feel about some of the changes that were reverted or not reverted? Right, like so. For example, druids needed that boost early on to be able to compete, but it also helped them with like not having to play the like super strict bear weaving or whatever it was in Wrath of the Lich King. Um, but like, is there a point where, hey, this class isn't doing so well, but when it gets, when it comes online, like a ret paladin, right? It comes online in the last phase. Is it time to take away some of those changes? Like I think I personally would like to see some of that. Like maybe if you do make some of those changes, maybe it's time to cut them back just a little bit, right? If they're making them overperform almost.
Yeah. It does get trickier with that because like obviously people love when you buff their class. People hate when you take stuff away from their class. So I the first thing you do should definitely be try to make a change where, if they're bad in like phase one, but later they're gonna be a lot better. Try to figure out a change that, helps them in phase one, but won't be that big of a deal in phase three. I mean, with different like set bonuses and stuff too, like that can be a thing. Like that different set bonuses you get from tier sets, like those can change your rotations. So that could be a good way to do it. Like maybe your rotation is, one thing in phase one. So you buff, some part of that rotation that isn't as relevant in like a later phase. So it kind of just corrects itself. That could be an avenue to do it. But I think that should definitely be the first goal is like create changes that like buff them at the time they need it, but won't cause lasting problems later. But also, I think just sliding the scale up and down is fine too. Like balance things enough each phase, readjust them the next phase. I think that's fine, but the community definitely hates that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be the best.
I wonder if like my stance on it would probably be I think that characters should wear their tier sets. I think it's like a part of WoW, like to be able to wear your tier set and stuff, whether it's 2 piece, 4 piece, 6 piece, whatever, whatever the case may be. Um, I think maybe they should just add some of the power or whatever it is like to those sets so that you're just like on a phase basis, you're even stronger. But if it's something that they need buffing later on, they can also get it just in the next set. So
Yeah,
that's just something that I've been thinking about at least.
that's a
Like if they
really
give
good
them,
point. Yeah, I
yeah,
like
if
that
they
a
just give them
lot.
just a little bit more power, just a little bit, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be something huge. Um, but like if Boomkin, for instance, is underperforming in their 2 pieces, like oh, give Wrath 30% more damage, maybe why not give them 40%? You know what I mean? Like whatever it does to just bump them up a little bit, and then if they need to in the next patch, they bump up the next set. Because no one wants to wear the old set either, right? To be able to perform perform super well,
Yeah,
right? You want to be able
yeah,
to
for
have the
sure.
current gear.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good option because that can mostly, correct itself. Like it keeps the change like, you know, tied to a phase. But the other thing too is that there's like a lot of snapshotting stuff in Cata. That's one of the biggest issues in Cata is just how much like pre-poll, like snapshotting kind of things happen. So when you're like making these set bonuses too, I mean, you could avoid this problem too by just like removing snapshotting. I think that's the best way to do it because there are going to be so many issues. Like one that comes to mind, like just tier set related, is like Ret Pallies want the Prot tier 11 set. They pop their Guardian of Ancient Kings before the poll while wearing Prot gear, take off the Prot gear, and then they, have their normal red gear on for the poll.
Right.
Like just things like that. Like when you're messing with tier sets, I feel like it's gonna create even more of those like snapshotting, ridiculous situations. But I also think they need to just fix the snapshotting thing because it's just gonna go to like crazy levels. I mean, we've had it like all of Wrath though too. Like mages are always using like their old set, like swapping it back and forth, and I feel like it's just something they need to like get rid of. Um,
Yeah, I'm
like
for that.
as
I'm
soon
for
as
that.
you take the gear off, just like get rid of the buff. Just completely like remove snapshotting stuff.
Well,
I think
didn't they do
that's
something like that with like legacy tier sets in retail, or am I misremembering? Maybe
I'm not
like where like
exactly sure, but like a lot of the old tier sets, like they don't even like work. Like
right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yeah, once you're like a certain level, they just like don't have an effect. So
like I feel like it maybe should be the same way. Like if you're spec'd into the Ret Paladin tree, you should just not be able to use the prot gear like set bonus. Like it shouldn't be active unless you are prot.
mhm.
Like that could be an easy fix for
Yeah,
something
I
like
mean,
that at least.
yeah, that would make sense. It's just like at that point you're doing it on like a case by case basis. I think they just need like kind of sweeping changes that like address everything all at once though. So it's
Yeah, fair
like
enough.
as soon as you like take gear off, like you just lose whatever like buff that gave you. I mean that's how it works for some things, but not others. It's like kind of weird how it's not consistent.
Yeah,
But
trinkets. A lot of trinkets are like that, where like it procs, and then as soon as you take it off, it's just gone.
yeah. But then there's some that do work like that. Like Darkmoon Card Greatness, like you proc it with heals before the pull, you change to a different trinket. So yeah, it's I would definitely like to see them address that kind of like pre-pull craziness in Gata because it's just gonna get worse and worse.
Yeah, and some of the extent that some people were going to for like unholy and stuff for snapshotting was like insane. Where you were like switching in the beginning, you were like switching metas in your helmet,
Oh yeah.
and then it evolved into like to not proc the Dark Moon card greatness. You had to like sit down or something. Like it was crazy. It was like going insane. Like you had a macro to like sit down when you ghoul frenzied, so it wouldn't proc your greatness. Like yeah, so I'm definitely down for that. I think the shenanigans are too much. I mean, it's nice for like the top end players where they're getting that little extra squeak, but I mean, for the most part, those guys are better than the average Joe anyway, right? So like, do they really need that? And if it's an even playing field, I'm sure they're going to do fine.
Yeah. And then of course there's like somebody pulls like before the pull timer like 1 second early. And then somebody the rep pallies in prog gear. And it's like, it just causes like so much friction like in the raid.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's just like bad, I think. I think it seems like an easy way to like fix it is like make everything dynamic, like don't allow like any snapshotting. And then on top of that, like when a like boss is pulled, like when boss combat begins, there's like some sort of check with like what gear you have on versus what buffs you have. And if those don't align, if you have buffs that don't come from the kind of gear you're wearing, they just get removed. Because like we've seen that similar stuff before where like world buffs would get removed when you entered like certain dungeons or whatever, like And Botanica, the 295 spell power buff, when you leave it like gets removed. So I think there just needs to be something like that where it
Well,
like removes buffs you shouldn't have.
we see that same thing though, right? Like a perfect example is like if someone's in your party, or sorry, if someone's not in your party and they give you like stamina, for instance, and then you, as soon as you engage a boss, I think that stamina just falls off if they're not in the group afterward. You know what I mean? Like it's just something that goes away. Like if they're not in the
Hmm.
raid, it just doesn't exist. At least when the boss is pulled.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
it
I
seems
think
like they can fix
they
it
have the tech.
fairly easily. I would say that is like not the person that has to fix this. Like on the surface, it seems like it would be fairly easy, but
Well, if they're not putting their efforts into LFR, maybe they can do that for us. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Because I
This
definitely
is
feel
the
like,
trade off. Yeah,
yeah, because I definitely feel like with retail and stuff like that, just whenever they do LFR, I think it's kind of like a time sink for them. Not that it's hard to reverse like how the rate is, but like you want to tune it to be easy enough but not hard enough. And I think it's just like
it
a,
takes time. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think it's just kind of an unnecessary step where they could be doing more stuff with their development time. So
Um. Also, Tol Barad. I mean, I think this one's pretty straightforward. Like the system they had for Wintergrasp for Wrath seems good. Do you have any complaints with like them just basically taking the Wintergrasp system and applying that to Tolbarad?
slap it on there. I think it was great.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. The one thing I would like to see change with Tolbarad. So for anybody who doesn't know, basically when you win a battle, afterwards some NPCs will spawn that give you dailies. Some of those dailies are just set, it's always the same ones. And then there's another set of dailies that's random out of a set of three. So there's three possible random sets of dailies you could get. I think this one needs to be changed. I think they just need to make all of the daily quest givers spawn after you win, because it just feels bad to have like a random chance to like get your dailies after each battle. Like you're gonna have to go to Tolbarad after every single game and just hope that like you rolled well and like got the dailies you want.
Yeah, for
That
sure.
just feels bad. I think you just make every daily spawn at the end of a Tolbarad game. Easy peasy.
Yeah, I'm with that for sure. It's just it's a lot easier that way, and you're getting a lot less complaints for sure.
And then I think the last topic, at least that I had, was archaeology. Um, in its current form, I've been reading a lot of Wowhead comments, trying to like gauge like how difficult it's gonna be to find some of these things. It's looking rough. It's looking real rough. Like a lot of the comments are talking about getting, 500 to 1,000 solves before they got, the two-hand sword for like the basically anybody who uses a two-hander, it's their prebis. 500 to 1,000 solves to get it, which is gonna be over 100 hours of like playtime. I think that's excessive to say the least to get one item. For anybody who doesn't know, these are bind on account items. So once you get it once, you do have that for every character on your account. So that is a benefit. But I mean, 100 plus hours to get one item. I think that's a bit much. So I would really like to see some kind of like bad luck protection added to this. So like the more solves you do, the more times you don't get it, the more likely you are that you do get it in the future. Similar to they did this on retail with like the Farok legendary. Um but I would love to see a system like that where they add some kind of bad luck protection to archaeology. The more you do it, the closer, like the higher your chances of getting it in the future. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that would be bad luck protection would be pretty good. I think making archaeology more up to date in terms of like how long it takes to like wait between each little node and stuff like that, I think would also be a huge change. because I remember when it first came out, it feels like it took forever to like just get through one dig site, and now it feels like you can fly through them. Or in later versions of it, rather, it felt like you could just fly through them. You just kind of knew where the treasure would be. Um, so I think something would probably have to give. I do like that it is random, but there is definitely some time sinks, and I think those time sinks should be more in the way of maybe like transmog or something like that, and not so much like the two-handed sword, for example, which is previous, like you said, for the two-handed classes. So um, maybe just leave the RNG for like the like transmog and the mounts or whatever it is, right? Rather than the items that would potentially help people like a ton, so it doesn't again feel like a chore, right? We've said that so many times on this podcast already, and it's only episode 2 where some things just feel like a chore. So as long as it's not feeling like a chore, I'm okay with it. Maybe if there's some way to just make it even more fun or rewarding in another aspect too, I'd be okay with that also. Where you get more out of it. There's more stuff to do, or maybe you get like justice points or whatever it is, right? Like if you're not having good luck, maybe you get something.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hopeful they'll do something about this, but it is looking bad right now. But uh I think they will. I think they will. It seems like
Yeah,
kind of a no-brainer.
I don't think archaeology panned out the way that they wanted it to, from start to where it is even now. Uh, so I think some changes will probably be made, and hopefully they're just vocal about it and give us feedback, and we can give them feedback as well, right? And see where we can take it,
Yeah. This is the
just like
time
they
to
did
do
with
it
SoD.
during the
Yeah,
beta.
for sure. Yeah. Well, once it's testable, oh, it is testable now. I haven't done any yet,
They had
so.
it on their list. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I'm not in the beta. I haven't seen anybody
Uh,
streaming it, but it is on their list of things that's in beta. I just haven't seen anybody doing it.
Yeah, I haven't. It's not something that I've gone out of my way to do. I'm like hoping for that, like I said earlier in the show, and I'm hoping for that transmog. Just let me make my character look good.
Yeah, right. I can't wait. Any other changes you want to see in Cata?
The big ones are balance changes. I think maybe like I know the raids are going to be really really hard. But I do love that like retail has this like niche mythic mode where it's even the top tier, only the top tier can clear it, right? I think that's pretty cool. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing like a mythic version of like some of the raids in Cataclysm. I think that would be pretty cool. um, but I know they're going to be hard even on the heroic setting for a lot of people. But I think for like competitive sake, maybe not even my own, but for like watching esports and watching streamers and stuff like that, and I know you would be someone that I would watch doing the highest end stuff, and I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that I mean, on private servers, I think pretty much all of them do like a dampening effect where players do like less damage and healing and absorbs on like all these bosses to make them harder. So like on private servers, people are already doing like essentially like, mythic versions of these fights. So it doesn't seem like it's like totally like too far out there, but I also don't really expect them to do it. I like the
Yeah, it's a
harder
lot of dev time.
yeah, the harder content is in classic, like the lower the subs get. So I I don't think they really want to take it further than what is like already, the precedent from the original run. But I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
would be
wonder if
cool. I'd be down.
yeah, I wonder if maybe it's hard to say, right? Because like heroic 10-man Lich King is a prime example where it was like one of the hardest things to do. Um, Not only because like the fight itself was hard, but because the rewards were lacking. So I wonder if maybe they had some form of transmog mount or whatever it may be, right? That's tied to the mythic rather than more loot, so people didn't feel like they were missing out, other than uh, like little tiny toys or whatever it is. But then that opens up RMT and stuff like that. So who knows? It's tough to, you know what I mean? It's tough to say what they should
Hmm.
what they should and shouldn't do. But I would like to see um, more abilities or something like that, rather than like some of the ways the prize of servers do it, where they're like, oh, this guy has more health or you do less damage. If they do mythics, I'd like to see them do like more abilities or
Yeah, add a new
like,
mechanic to the fight.
yeah, exactly, just that one extra mechanic or whatever that just makes it stand out. But I know there's like a ton of like Sinestro itself is basically like a mythic fight, right? I know there's like a ton of mechanics.
Yeah, just the general like level of like raid boss mechanics, it just goes way up, and
Yeah, for sure.
Cata kind of picks up where Wrath left off and keeps going up. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this one. Um, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch, Subtle FW on both, if you aren't already subbed and following. Hando, you've got a new one now, I think. Hando Games with a Z.
Handle Games with the Z. Yep, you can
Yep.
find me on YouTube or Twitch. Not really streaming too much or making videos yet, but I plan to do some stuff on the weekends. Um, I'd love to get my kid involved, so maybe I'm going to be YouTube streaming instead, because I know he really, really wants to stream. He like looks up to a lot of the streamers and YouTube content creators and stuff. So maybe we'll be doing something like that with him. And I know you can't do that on Twitch, so um, maybe we'll play around with some of that stuff. But yeah, that's for me. You know what I mean? Maybe Twitch at night and YouTube during the day with my son, and see what we can get into, because he loves games and it
Nice.
just,
That's awesome.
yeah. So I think it would be pretty cool.
Very cool. All right. So that'll do it for this week. We'll see you guys again next Monday
Thank you
after
for
we get
joining us.
after we get through this reset week. Have a great one, everybody. See you next week.